Deep down inside, I believe most people on the planet are heartbroken. Why? Because they have betrayed the visions, ambitions, values, mission in their heart. They have betrayed their talent. Voluntary discomfort will build you and strengthen you. When something doesn't work out during your day and you get discouraged, you lose your fire, ask yourself this question.
Top 10, I got a top 10. Got my motivation high for my top 10. Gotta learn from the wise women and men all my life. Like na 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 na. For my top 10, top 10, na 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 na. This one's for my top 10.
Need motivation?
Watch a Top 10 with Believe Nation.
Hey, it's Evan Carmichael, and this channel was created to help you overcome the #1 challenge that is holding you back, a lack of belief in yourself. You watch these videos because you know there's something more inside you too. You have Michael Jordan level talent at something. So get ready to be persistent, rise up super early, and be kind with Robin Sharma and my take on his top 10 rules of success to give you the confidence, motivation, and belief that you need. Enjoy. Okay, let's kick it off with rule #1. Learn, study, and grow.
So few people who could succeed actually do succeed because they've given up on learning, study, and growth. LSG, learning, study, and growth. So the neurobiologists and neuropsychologists will tell us that the human brain craves learning, and it craves curiosity, and it craves novelty. And unfortunately, a lot of us, we learned in school, but the moment we left school and walked out into the world, we've given up on our personal commitment to growth. And so I'm inviting you with great love and respect to reclaim the curiosity you once knew as a child when you were overflowing with awe and wonder. You see, our natural state is the way we're as children. We're built to be curious. We're built to be passionate. We're built to be full of energy. We're built to question things. You look at a little child and it's like, Mommy, Daddy, why? You look at an adult and they've contracted their curiosity. They've given up on seeing the magic in the world. They no longer grow. And so the mindset I want you to start practicing, because no idea works unless you do the work. To install a core belief, you just practice it until it becomes automatic. That's how you actually get to change your psychology. And so the mindset I invite you to start practicing each day is what I call the 2X, 3X mindset. To double your income and your impact, triple your investment in 2 core areas. Number 1, your personal mastery, and number 2, your professional capability. And how do you do that? Again, you do it through learning, study, and growth. So I guess what I'm suggesting to you is you look at most of the population and you commit yourself to what I call anti-majority behavior. If you want to have a great life, a soaring life, a creative life, a productive life, a ultra prosperous life, look at what most people do and do the opposite. So most people, what they do is they love consuming as opposed to creating. We live in a civilization of consumers. Buy this, eat this, do this, consume this. But the top 5%, those who play in the rare air of world class, are not consumers, they're creators.
Rule #2, don't live an easy life.
Suffering gets a bad rap in our world today. In society, we all want it quick, but if you look at, again, a Nelson Mandela, a Mother Teresa, a Mahatma Gandhi, a Rosa Parks, a Martin Luther King Jr., a Marcus Aurelius. You look at the great statespeople, the great women who led nations, the great men who led movements. I've been studying samurai lately. You know, I've been studying a lot of the great warriors. I've been reading a lot about Alexander the Great. And you could say, well, Robin, you know, in the comment section or whatever, you could say, Robin, some of these people were bloody, you know, some of these warriors. And I hear you. My larger point is simply this. If you look at the great warriors or the great empire builders or the great heroes of humanity, they all had one thing in common. Many of them developed invincible moral authority to live by their deepest vision, values, and virtues through the hard winters of deep suffering. A GCA, a gargantuan competitive advantage in a world where everyone wants it easy. They want a warm house. They want a car with heated seats if you live in a cold place. We want great food. We want a life of ease. We want all our devices around us. We want easy friends who don't make us, maybe who don't stretch us. We want to, if we even read, we want easy books. I guess what I'm suggesting to you is voluntary discomfort will build you and strengthen you. And the great heroes of history often didn't do it voluntarily. They suffered. They suffered in a prison cell. They suffered for the benefit of their movement. They suffered long treks through mountains with not a lot of food when they're on a military campaign. They suffered the humiliation of being attacked by their critics. And so in this age of ease, we are becoming weak as leaders, weak as humans, weak as possibilitarians. And I'm just saying to you, sure, have your nice things. You know, we all want a nice life, myself included. And yet make sure you don't fall into the chasm or the trap of living a life that is so easy that you don't develop those muscles of strength, fiery resolve, and moral authority.
Rule number 3, don't betray your talent.
Why do so many people on the planet right now medicate themselves? They medicate themselves with too much technology. Anyone agree with me? Show of hands or a round of applause. Like they are medicating themselves in front of that white screen. 110 times checking the smartphone every day. That is not checking your technology. You know what that is? That is an addiction and an escape from what is. And if you said to most people, did you know you're addicted to your smartphone? Did you know you're addicted to your notifications? Did you know you're addicted to your television? Did you know you're addicted to your excuses? Did you know you're addicted to gossip? Did you know you're drinking too much alcohol because you are addicted to it? Did you know that this is all a flight from what is? Because deep down inside, the deepest unknown part of you knows that you are in pain over potential unlived. They would fight you to the death. Am I making sense here? Show of hands. Deep down inside, I believe most people on the planet are heartbroken. Why? Because they have betrayed the visions, ambitions, values, mission in their heart. They have betrayed their talent by buying into the mass hypnosis that the world has sold them. And now they're 35 and they're 45 years old. And they're just, oh, no, this is what everyone does. And they just check. And then, you know what Blaise Pascal, the French mathematician, said? Most people, their misery is derived by their inability to sit quietly in a room by themselves. You know how many people are frightened of their own company? And I've shared with you, right? No, seriously, they're frightened of their own company. I've shared with you the neurobiology, transient hypofrontality. You can't play at Edison. You can't play at Misty Copeland. You can't play at world class unless you bring yourself away from the world and do the practice, do the training, do the thinking to set up transient hypofrontality. And that creates the pharmacy of mastery. And it brings you from beta to alpha. And it releases the dopamine and the serotonin. And the psychologists have told us that state is flow. And I guess what I've been suggesting with transient hypofrontality, you have flow within you. You have genius within you. Most of us are so distracted. They're so overstimulated. They're so interrupted They don't create the silent spaces where their genius can present themselves.
Rule number 4, be consistent.
Fourth point, persistency versus the short game. We do live in a world where everything just happens so fast that if we have a project or a cause or a mission, if it doesn't happen instantly, or if it doesn't manifest or materialize the way we want it within a month or within a quarter, even within a year, we give up. And we then start chasing the next shiny toy of opportunity. So I was in Piazza Navona in Rome a few weeks ago working on a new book. And I love Piazza Navona because it's one of the most beautiful squares on the planet. And when I'm in my creative cycle, I go there just to refuel. And if you walk into Piazza Navona, what you're going to see is, I think it's called the Four Rivers sculpture by Bernini. And the point I'm trying to make to you is, as I looked at this masterpiece of a sculpture, what I realized is the true masters are not all about impatience. They're not all about the short game. They understand that world class is a process and that genius could take decades. And what makes rare air output is the ability to stick with a singular vision of your masterpiece, whatever that is, a great company, a great family, a gorgeous life, a new book, a film, I don't know. But mastery comes through deep focus, patience, and persistency. And when I looked at Bernini's sculpture, you could see the level of detail, and so few people have it. It really is a gargantuan competitive advantage, a GC, what I teach in my work as a GCA, a gargantuan competitive advantage, because most people don't have patience anymore. Most people do not have the grit and the resolve to stay with a sculpture, that's a metaphor for you, their sculpture for maybe a year on just a little piece. And maybe the next piece of your sculpture, another year or 2 years. It took 22 years to build the Taj Mahal, but it became one of the 7 wonders of the world. That's a metaphor for you that I really want you to think about.
Also, if you want to have more confidence, check out my 254 series. It's free. The link to join is in the description below.
One of the real reasons we don't do the things that frighten us is because we are afraid of being judged. And so to become fearless, why not find some time every day to practice becoming fearless? Stop resisting. I encourage you, stop resisting the natural flow of epic performance. Stop resisting the natural seasons of life.
Rule number 5, rise up super early.
There's a reason why the visionary founder of Starbucks, Howard Schultz, rises before the sun. There's a reason why Michelle Obama rises very early. There's a reason why Tim Cook, who's leading Apple, gets up before the dawn. First of all, the hours between 4 and 6 are the time of least distraction in this age of dramatic interruption. Number 2, the hours before the sun rises is the period where your brain is most available to your primary creativity. So while you're sleeping, your brain actually washes itself, but also it lets go of the residue of the previous day while you are resting and while you are recovering. When you wake up, your thinking is fresh, your creativity is most pristine, you are most available to access your gifts and your talents. So those are some of the reasons why I encourage you to get up early. You might say, Robin, well, I'm not an early riser. I can't put mind over mattress. I can't win the battle of the bed. Grandma never got up early. Dad couldn't get up early. I guess I'm not the kind of person who can rise before the sun. And what I would suggest to you is simply this. What science confirms, and in particular the data of University College London, you do any new habit, practice it for 66 days, and you will arrive at the place of automaticity. In other words, it'll be easier to run the new habit than not to. 66 days of rising at 5 a.m. will get you to a place where it's easier to get up at 5 a.m. than not to get up at 5 a.m. You'll reach a place of automaticity. In my book, The 5 a.m. Club, I say all change is hard at first, and it's messy in the middle, and it's gorgeous at the end. I'll repeat that again because it's so important. All change is hard at first, messy in the middle, and it's gorgeous at the end. In the book, there's a chapter on the habit installation process that actually explains the 3 phases every habit goes through before you wire it into the place where it's automatic. Number 1, destruction. Number 2, integration. And number 3, implementation. Really important to remember them. So you can get up early. You can install habits. As a matter of fact, neuroplasticity, which is the phenomenon that speaks to the fact the brain is like a muscle. The more you flex it and push it, the more it's going to grow. You have that gift. It's not just for Federer and Serena Williams and Oprah Winfrey and Shakespeare and Jean-Michel Basquiat and Steve Jobs and Elon Musk. You have a brain that has the capability to grow and adapt. So what is the 20-20-20 formula that lies at the core of the 5 a.m. Club method? Well, the first 20 minutes, move, sweat. You'll release BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor, which will increase the neural connections of your brain, as well as repair brain cells damaged by stress, and also promote neurogenesis, which is the formation of new brain cells. I know this is a lot of information, but I want to give you great content in this video. Exercising for 20 minutes first thing in the morning from 5 to 5:20, the first part of the 20-20-20 formula, releases dopamine, which is the inspirational neurotransmitter. How valuable is that for your creativity and productivity for the rest of the day? Cortisol, the fear hormone, is highest first thing in the morning. Exercising will reduce it. Serotonin is released, so you'll feel happier. Now it's 5:20, you're full of energy, you've optimized your cognition, your focus is increasing. It's only 5:20, the rest of the world is asleep. Just imagine that advantage you already have. Second pocket for the 20-20-20 formula is all about reflection. We live in a world where people don't reflect anymore. A lot of people are busy being busy, but what's the point of being busy around the wrong things? So for 20 minutes from 5:20 to 5:40, you reflect, you pray or write in a journal, you meditate, you can visualize, you can script out a blueprint for a great day ahead, which habit researchers call a pre-commitment strategy, which actually increases your willpower and your ability to get your most important priorities done. Okay, now it's 5:40. From 5:40 to 6 o'clock, this is the final 20-minute pocket of the 20-20-20 formula. The first pocket was about move, the second is reflect, and the third is grow. I've coached billionaires and CEOs and NBA superstars and members of royalty for over 20 years. Here's what I've realized when I work with the best of the best. They love to learn. They love to grow. They don't see investing in yourself or investing in your skills or investing in your growth a cost. They think about the value received. I call it the 2x, 3x mindset, to double your income and your impact, triple your investment in 2 core areas, your personal mastery and your professional capability. So for 20 minutes, what do? You listen to a podcast, you review your journal notes, you read a book, you watch a valuable video, you just do something, you read an autobiography, you do something to grow your capacities and materialize more of the potential you have been born into. And now it's 6 o'clock. You've optimized your mindset, you've purified your heart set, you've calibrated your health set, you've escalated your soul set. You feel fundamentally different. In the 5 a.m. Club, there's another model called the 4 Habits of History Makers, and one of the elements is day stacking. The whole idea is simply this: get your mornings right. Your days are going to be fundamentally more energetic, creative, productive, and high impact. And a great week is nothing more than a series of great days, and a great month is the same thing, and a great quarter is just a a series of well-lived weeks, and it just continues, and it creates this upward spiral of success just by getting from 5 a.m. to 6 a.m. your victory hour to world class every morning. Consistency really is the mother of mastery, and own your morning. You're really going to elevate your life.
Rule number 6, use negative events to grow.
When something doesn't work out during your day and you get discouraged, you lose your fire, ask yourself this question: what's the opportunity here? That's what WTOH stands for. What's the opportunity here? What I've realized is when things don't work out, the victim says, oh, boo-hoo, poor me. They get stuck in sadness or anger or regret. And some of them spend the rest of their life in that state. What the leader does is this. You feel the pain. You notice the disappointment. You never want to suppress that. That would build up the toxic emotions within you. So feel the disappointment. If it's, you forgot your keys somewhere, you lost your wallet, you missed a train, you missed a meeting, you lost a sale, or maybe it's something heavier. You just got your heart broken. You just lost your job. You just got some negative news from your doctor at your annual checkup. I mean, that's one of the things that happens in life. We all face very hard times. When those things happen, feel the emotion. Do not suppress it, because the quickest way out of the painful or sad emotions is straight in. But here's the real key. Ask yourself, what's the opportunity here? How can I use this small or large negative event to grow? How can I use this situation to give me more wisdom, to give me more acumen, to make me more experienced? How can I use this situation to strengthen me and fortify me? How can I use this situation to become more authentic and more real? Because it's the difficult things in life that crack open our social mask and allow us to be more real and more authentic. How can I use this situation to build my relatability so I'm more relatable to human beings? And ultimately, how can I use this situation as fuel to make my life even better?
Rule number 7, simplify.
If you simplify versus go complex, what happens is you can then take your energy and your focus and your personal resources and focus them on the few things that will be most important. And that's what the great ones do. They marshal and harness their resources, their mental focus, their physical energy, their personal willpower, their individual gifts, their time. I call those the 5 assets of elite performance. And they focus them on just a few things. And I want you to think about it in your life. If you stripped away all the noise, you focused on the signal, you stripped away all the complexity, you got monomaniacally concentrated on just a few things, of course you'd be brilliant at those few things.
Rule number 8, don't be a pleasure seeker.
Most people, the 95%, and this is no judgment, just reporting, but they're pleasure seekers. If you look at the true warriors of humanity, you look at the true empire builders, you look at the true titans who are constructing a better world, they're less about pleasure seeking because they understand that growth comes through discomfort. Willpower is built through voluntary acts of quote unquote suffering. I mean, to do hard work is to grow. To push yourself on a project to places that frighten you is to expand your creative capabilities. I hope I'm making sense for you here. But pleasure seekers don't create monuments. If you look at the Taj Mahal, if you look at Piazza Navona in Rome, if you look at the Great Wall of China, if you look at the Mona Lisa created by Da Vinci, if you look at the Sistine Chapel created by Michelangelo, if you look at any great company, okay, an Apple under Steve Jobs, for example, or it might have been Elon Musk's companies. I don't know what companies most speak to you, but if you look at any world-class company, Under Armour comes to mind. These companies took grit, they took suffering, they took relentlessness. Any creative person has to face the arrows and slings of their critics. So you get to world-class through the doorway of discomfort. And how do you build a strong inner core? You do it by walking into the metaphorical hard winters of growth. That's how you train. You look at a great athlete. It's the way they show up in the championship game is simply how they showed up in the lonely light of the early hours at practice. It wasn't easy. I mean, I always think of Muhammad Ali. He said, I didn't like any one of those early morning training sessions, but I said to myself, suffer now and spend the rest of your life as a champion.
Rule number 9, be kind.
We live in a world where the dominant message of society is if you want to be a leader, be sort of mean, be aggressive. You know, you got to thump your chest a little more if you want to lead the field. You got to speak a little bit louder. You've got to be all about me versus thinking about we. And so what I want to offer to you right now is simply a reminder, because your wisest part knows the truth. You know, on the last hour of your last day, when you reflect on your life, if you were not kind, I think you're going to feel heartbroken. One of my mentors when I was a young lawyer was a judge, and a very special man. I learned so much from him. I was so incredibly influenced by his commitment to excellence, by his integrity, and by his outright honor. And a few years ago, he had retired, and I made the trek back to where he was living. And we spent 2 glorious hours together where we remembered, you know, our best times when I was working for him. And towards the end of our conversation, I asked him for advice, you know, like, what's most important? What are the best lessons you've learned from life? What suggestions do you have for me as I go forward, as I pursue my mountaintops? And he said this, and he said, you know, he spoke of excellence and he spoke of honesty. And then at the very end of our conversation, he said, and Robin, please always remember to be kind. He said, oh, Robin, it's so important to be kind. And then he reached over and he did something he'd never done. He hugged me and he said, Robin, I love you.
And rule number 10, the last one before a very special bonus clip, is start thinking like a leader.
Leadership is not about a title. Leadership is not about the size of your office. Leadership is not about having formal authority. Leadership is a mindset. Leadership is a way of operating through your days. Leadership is a heart set. Leadership is a way of being. And I think, you know, we're now in Leadership 2.0. The old model of leadership said you need to have a lot of money, or you need to be a prime minister or president. You need to be a CEO or a managing director in order to be a leader. Leadership 2.0 is fundamentally different. Leadership 2.0 simply says, if you can breathe, if you are alive, you not only have the opportunity, you have the responsibility to show leadership, not only in your work, not only in your creativity, not only in your impact, not only in your influence, but even in your personal life. Install the lead without a title mindset. And again, that's just a way of thinking. It's an approach. No matter what you do, no matter what your station in life is, start thinking like a leader, because you really have a choice when you go out in the world every day. You can be a victim or you can be a leader, but you can't do both. And so the more you practice showing leadership in your work, showing leadership with your family, showing leadership in your community, showing leadership in your private self, practice drives performance. And the more you practice it, the more you start to step into the mindset of a leader without a title.
Now I've got a special bonus clip from Robin on how to find your why that I think you're going to enjoy. But before that, it's time for the 3-point landing questions. Let's go from just watching a video to taking action. Here we go. Question number 1. Where do you need to start thinking like a leader? Number 2, who can you be kind to today? And number 3, where do you need to be more persistent? And if you made it this far in a video and you are committed to making a change, I want to celebrate you. Give me a hashtag believe down in the comments as well.
If you do not have a cause and a burning fire and a purpose for your life, no matter what you do, taxi driver, teacher, firefighter, carpenter, baker, once you know a cause, then I'll put it to you this way. A compelling cause to donate the rest of your life to is the antidote to apathy. But most people don't know. You say, what do you want to stand for? I don't know. Good question. You say, what 5 things need to happen over the next 90 days for this to be the best quarter of your life? I don't know. You ask yourself, what are your top 5 values? I don't know. You ask most people, what is your magnificent obsession that gets you out of bed at 5 in the morning with fire in the belly and sparkle in your eyes? And they say, I don't know. See, most people do not spend the time to think. They're busy being busy, caught up in the complexity of every day. Divorce yourself from the majority. Get involved in what I'm sharing with you is anti-majority behavior.
If you want 10 more rules from Tim Ferriss, check out the video right there next to me. I think you'll enjoy it. Continue to believe, and I'll see you there.
When you see someone who's doing something that you think is really incredible, you can either build yourself up or tear them down to make yourself feel better.